"You are getting married tomorrow," her stepmother whispered during her father's funeral. On the day her father died, her stepmother whispered the unthinkable, "You're getting married tomorrow." But what happened next wasn't just a fight for a wedding, it was a battle for her entire life. This is Maya's story of betrayal, courage, and the fight to reclaim her future. Stay with us. You won't believe how it ends. Title: "You're getting married tomorrow," her stepmother whispered, right at her father's funeral. The church pews were packed with mourners dressed in black. The scent of lilies and grief thick in the air. Rain tapped softly on the stained glass windows of St. Andrew's Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia. 18-year-old Maya Thompson sat motionless in the front row, her tear-filled eyes locked on the polished mahogany casket that held her father, Franklin Thompson. The only parent she had ever truly known. He had raised her single-handedly after her mother passed away when she was just a toddler. Franklin was a hard-working mechanic turned successful garage owner. Loved by many, envied by some. He was kind, honest, and fiercely protective of Maya. He was her world, and now he was gone. Maya felt like she was floating outside of herself until a hand cold as ice gripped her wrist. She turned to see her stepmother, Clarissa, a woman whose smile never reached her eyes and whose affection for Maya had always felt transactional. Clarissa leaned in, her lips barely moving. "You're getting married tomorrow," she whispered. Maya blinked, stunned. "What?" Clarissa squeezed her wrist tighter. "Keep your voice down. You heard me." Maya pulled away, heart racing. "You can't be serious." Clarissa's smirk widened, her heavily powdered face unreadable. "It's already arranged. He paid good money. You're not going to ruin this." Clarissa turned her gaze back to the preacher, as if she hadn't just dropped a nuclear bomb into Maya's world. Maya's mind was spinning. Her father had been dead less than a week. She hadn't even processed the loss, let alone expected to hear something so outrageous during his funeral. Married, tomorrow? To whom? Tears welled up in her eyes again, not just from grief, but from rising panic. She glanced to her right. Uncle Ray, her father's older brother, sat beside her. A kind man, but soft-spoken and passive. He'd never stand up to Clarissa. Behind her were distant relatives, neighbors, and Franklin's old army buddies. No one here would understand that Maya's stepmother was capable of such manipulation, such evil. The moment the service ended, Maya stood abruptly and rushed out the side door into the rain. The cold droplets did little to cool her burning panic. She ducked into her father's old pickup truck, the one he taught her to drive in, and locked the doors. Her breath hitched. She grabbed the steering wheel like it was the only thing grounding her. "Married tomorrow?" she whispered aloud, heart pounding. She knew she had to act fast. Clarissa was controlling, calculating, and clearly hiding things. But what could she do? With no money, no family support, and nowhere else to go. Maya realized she was in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. And then the passenger door rattled. Clarissa, already trying to get in. "You better not try anything stupid," she hissed through the glass. "You belong to him now, just like we agreed." That was the moment Maya knew. This wasn't just a twisted scheme. It was a transaction, and she was the product being sold. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay curled up on the mattress in the small box-like room Clarissa had moved her into after her father passed. It used to be the pantry. Now it felt like a prison cell. No windows, just 4 faded yellow walls, and a single bare bulb that flickered when the air conditioning kicked in. Every time she closed her eyes, the whisper echoed in her head. "You're getting married tomorrow." By morning, the house buzzed with activity. She could hear Clarissa downstairs, shouting orders to a caterer. Music equipment was being wheeled in. Maya crept to the top of the stairs and peeked through the railing. Balloons, a white arch, folding chairs. It looked like a backyard wedding straight out of a cheap reality show. Except the bride had no say. Maya tiptoed back into her room and locked the door. She needed answers, fast. She pulled out the old iPhone her dad had given her 2 years ago. The screen was cracked, and Clarissa had cut off the data plan after his death, but the Wi-Fi still worked. She Googled forced marriage in the US. Then, can a stepmother legally arrange a marriage for a minor? The answers were terrifying. In most states, the legal age for marriage without consent was 18. Maya had just turned 18 2 weeks before the funeral. That meant Clarissa didn't need to forge anything. She had waited until the moment she could sell Maya off legally. Then she searched. Who is Marcus LeBlanc? Savannah, Georgia? That was the name Clarissa had muttered on the phone last night, probably to the man Maya was supposed to marry. Her heart dropped. Marcus LeBlanc was 42 years old, a local businessman with a sketchy real estate background and a pending lawsuit for fraud. His photo popped up on a local news article. He looked more like a loan shark than a groom. Greasy hair, a cocky smirk, and cold eyes that gave Maya chills through the screen. And according to the article, he was broke, which meant Clarissa wasn't marrying Maya off for prestige. She was getting paid. Clarissa banged on the door. "Get dressed, Maya. Your makeup artist will be here in 30 minutes. Don't embarrass me." Maya stared at the door, heart pounding. She was not about to walk down an aisle to a man who viewed her as a paycheck or a prize. Her father would never have allowed this. She had to believe that somewhere, somehow, she still had a choice. Suddenly, her eyes landed on a photo taped to the corner of her mirror. It was her and her dad, smiling in front of his auto shop, Frank's Fix-It. The keys to that shop had disappeared the day after the funeral. She had a thought. What if her father left her something? A will, a letter, a backup plan, anything. And if he did, Clarissa had probably hidden it, because it could be the one thing standing between Maya and being sold off like a used car. Determined, she took a deep breath and whispered to her reflection, "I'm not going down like this. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever." The mansion-sized house had never felt like home. Clarissa had moved in 3 years after Franklin and Maya settled into the quiet suburban neighborhood of Savannah Heights. What started as a cozy 2-bedroom with a family touch quickly turned into a cold, sterile showroom of Clarissa's expensive taste and secrets. Maya tiptoed into the hallway the moment Clarissa stepped out to meet the florist. She had maybe 20 minutes, 30 if she was lucky. She headed straight for her father's old study. The door was locked. Of course it was. Clarissa hadn't let Maya step foot in that room since the funeral. The place was probably rigged tighter than a safe. But Maya wasn't a helpless damsel. Her dad had taught her a thing or two. She rushed downstairs to the garage and grabbed the old screwdriver he kept in his red toolbox. Then back upstairs, heart racing, she jimmied the lock. After a few clicks and a desperate prayer, the knob turned. The scent of her father hit her like a tidal wave. Leather, engine grease, and coffee. Dust particles danced in the sunlight that streamed through the blinds. Everything was just as he left it. Papers stacked neatly, a half-empty mug on the coaster, and his favorite Braves cap hanging on the coat rack. Maya moved fast. She checked drawers, flipped through books, opened boxes. Nothing. No will, no envelope, no hint that her father had even been aware of what Clarissa was planning. She was about to give up when she remembered something. Her dad used to always say, "If something's worth protecting, don't put it where everyone looks first." That's when she eyed the frame photo on the wall. It was crooked, just slightly. She lifted it off and gasped. Behind it, taped to the wall, was a sealed manila envelope labeled, "To Maya, if anything happens to me." Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter and 2 documents. The first was her father's will. He had left everything to her. The house, the shop, the savings. Clarissa wasn't mentioned once. The second was a notarized letter naming Uncle Ray as Maya's temporary guardian in case of emergency. Even though she had just turned 18, her father had anticipated trouble and built a safety net. Tears streamed down Maya's face as she read her father's words. "I don't trust Clarissa. I know she's after the shop, the house, and whatever I've got saved. If you're reading this, it means I didn't get the chance to protect you myself. But everything I've built is yours, Maya. Don't let her take it, and don't let her steal your future." Clarissa's voice suddenly echoed from downstairs. "Maya, where are you? Marcus just pulled up." Panic set in. Maya stuffed the letter and documents into her hoodie pocket and bolted from the study, locking the door behind her. She had what she needed, proof that this so-called wedding was a con. But Clarissa wouldn't go down easy, not with money on the line. Maya didn't just need to escape. She needed a plan, one bold enough to expose the truth and stop the wedding before it destroyed her life. Maya's heart pounded as she hurried down the grand staircase, clutching the precious documents against her chest. The sound of Marcus LeBlanc's sleek black SUV rolling into the driveway echoed through the house. She could hear Clarissa's excited chatter downstairs, the kind of false cheer that made Maya's skin crawl. She needed help, but who could she trust? Uncle Ray. The quiet man had always been kind to her. He was a gentle presence in her life, the only family member who seemed to genuinely care. But he never spoke up around Clarissa, probably out of fear or respect for Franklin's wishes. Maya pulled out her phone and sent him a quick message. "Meet me at the shop. Urgent." She wasn't sure if he'd reply, but she had to try. Minutes later, Uncle Ray arrived, his weathered face full of concern. The small auto shop where Franklin had spent decades building his legacy sat a block away from the mansion. It was a humble, grease-stained sanctuary full of memories. "Ray, I found Dad's will," Maya blurted out as soon as he stepped inside. He blinked in surprise. "You did? Where?" "In his study. Clarissa's been lying to everyone. She's trying to marry me off to Marcus LeBlanc. A fraud, a liar, a predator, and she's doing it for money." Ray ran a hand through his thinning gray hair. "Maya, I had a feeling something was off, but I never thought it'd be this bad. We have to stop it. I'm 18, but if this wedding happens, it'll be a legal trap. Clarissa's been preparing for this for months. She's already paid the caterers and the photographer. Marcus is here. Right now." Ray nodded grimly. "First thing we do is get a lawyer, someone who can put an injunction on this wedding." Maya's eyes widened. "Do you know one?" Ray pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Yes, I do. There's a woman named Lisa Hammond. She's known for taking cases like this, fighting for young women forced into marriage or abused by family." A flicker of hope warmed Maya's chest. "Lisa's office is open till 7 p.m. I'll drive you there now." As they drove through Savannah's fading afternoon light, Maya stared out the window, her thoughts a whirlwind. Could her father's plan really save her? Could this unexpected ally stop the nightmare Clarissa had built around her? Whatever happened next, Maya knew one thing. She was done being a pawn. She was going to fight, and she was going to win. Lisa Hammond's law office was a modest brick building nestled between a coffee shop and a bookstore on Broughton Street, Savannah's busiest downtown strip. The golden hour sunlight cast long shadows on the sidewalk, but inside Maya felt a flicker of light she hadn't felt since her father's funeral. Lisa was a fierce-looking woman in her late 40s with sharp eyes that missed nothing and a no-nonsense attitude. After Maya and Uncle Ray explained the situation, Lisa sat back and exhaled slowly. "This kind of forced marriage scam is more common than people think," she said, "especially when there's money or property involved. But the good news? We have solid grounds to stop this wedding." Maya clutched the will and letter in her hand, feeling the weight of her father's words like armor. "The fact that you're legally 18 helps," Lisa continued. "Clarissa can't force you to marry without your consent, even if she claims otherwise. And since your father's will clearly leaves everything to you, there's a strong case against any coercion." She tapped on her keyboard and started drafting a temporary restraining order against the wedding, effective immediately. Maya's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. She hesitated but opened it. "You don't know me, but I know what Clarissa's been up to. Don't trust Marcus. He's dangerous." No signature, no explanation. Lisa noticed Maya's nervous glance. "Do you want me to call the police for you? A case like this may require their intervention." Maya nodded. "Yes, please." The night fell fast as Lisa filed the papers electronically. Maya's nerves buzzed with a mix of fear and hope. She finally had a chance to take control. But the fight wasn't over, because just as she was leaving the office, her phone buzzed again. This time a call, unknown number. Maya answered. "Marcus LeBlanc," a low, gravelly voice said. "You think you can ruin my deal? You're nothing but a spoiled girl. You don't belong in that house. You belong with me." A cold shiver ran down Maya's spine. She glanced at Uncle Ray, who silently mouthed, "We'll protect you." Maya squared her shoulders and whispered under her breath, "Not today. Not ever." The day of the forced wedding dawned bright and clear, But for Maya, it felt like a storm was raging inside her. The mansion was buzzing with guests, most of them Clarissa's distant relatives and neighbors, all convinced they were about to witness a perfect ceremony. None of them suspected the battle that was about to unfold. Maya stood in her bedroom, the white dress heavy on her shoulders, a gift from Clarissa meant to make her look like the perfect bride. Her hands trembled as she touched the delicate lace. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was Lisa, her lawyer. They filed the restraining order. The wedding is on hold until further notice, Lisa said firmly. I'm sending the papers to the venue and the county clerk. No one can legally marry you today. Maya exhaled, a mix of relief and adrenaline rushing through her. Downstairs, Clarissa was pacing like a caged animal. When Marcus arrived, the tension between them was electric. Marcus looked furious, slamming his fist on the kitchen counter. This isn't over. That girl's got nothing. But Clarissa's smirk had vanished. The reality was sinking in. The wedding and the payday were slipping through her fingers. Just as Marcus stormed out, the sound of sirens pierced the air. Police cars pulled up outside, and officers stepped inside holding copies of the court order. One of them approached Clarissa. Ma'am, we've received reports of coercion and fraud. We need to ask you some questions. Guests murmured in shock. Cameras from neighbors' phones pointed at the unfolding scene. Maya stood at the doorway, dressed in white but feeling more powerful than ever. Her phone buzzed again. We've got your back, Uncle Ray's message read. The officers escorted Marcus out, handcuffed and furious. Clarissa's face drained of color. In the middle of the chaos, Maya's phone rang again. This time it was a number she recognized, the local news station. We heard about your story, Maya, the reporter said. We want to share your fight to stop forced marriage and expose your stepmother's plan. Would you be willing to talk? Maya smiled. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope. I'm ready, she said. The nightmare was over, but Maya's journey was just beginning. She wasn't just a victim, she was a fighter, and soon her story would inspire thousands. In the weeks following the canceled wedding, Maya's life shifted from chaos to cautious optimism. The news coverage of her story had gone viral, not just locally, but across social media platforms. Messages of support poured in from strangers who had faced similar struggles or were inspired by her courage to fight back. At the center of it all was Maya, standing taller than ever before. Uncle Ray had taken her in, offering a home filled with warmth and understanding. Together, they started rebuilding what Clarissa had tried so hard to destroy. The auto shop, once just a place for fixing cars, became a symbol of Maya's resilience. She took her late father's teachings seriously, learning the trade, managing the business, and connecting with customers who saw her as more than just Franklin's daughter. Lisa Hammond stayed by her side, guiding her through the legal battles still ahead. Clarissa had been charged with coercion and fraud, and Marcus was facing criminal charges for attempted exploitation. Justice was underway, but Maya knew healing took longer than court dates. One late afternoon, Maya sat on the porch of the shop, scrolling through the supportive messages on her phone. Among them was a text from a woman named Emily, a community organizer who specialized in helping young women escape forced marriages. We'd love to have you share your story at our next event. Your voice can save lives. Maya's lips curved into a genuine smile. She had never imagined that the darkest moments of her life would become a beacon of hope for others. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Maya whispered a quiet thank you to her father. For the first time in a long time, she felt free, not just from Clarissa's shadow, not just from the fear of the past, but free to live her life on her own terms, bold, brave, and unbreakable. Her story was more than a fight against deceit and greed. It was a testament to strength, to family, and to the power of standing up when it matters most. And now Maya was ready to write the next chapter, her own. If you found Maya's story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories of courage and hope. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.